Gwaan. Welcome to Abeng News Magazine. In this edition, we look at Jamaican language. First, we look at the popularity of the expression Wagwan. In the second segment, we look at the value of the language and how Jamaica could capitalize on it. Sometime about 2005, a white Canadian colleague asked me how to properly say Wagwan, and so I explained to her the proper Jamaican three-syllable pronunciation, Wagwan. In 2019, an Indian Canadian colleague in a different work setting proudly spun off his fluent Jamaican to me. Wagwan, he proudly asked. In between Megan and Venks showing off their Jamaican, then US President Barack Obama went to Jamaica in 2015 and saluted a hall full of University of the West Indies students with, you guessed it. So I recently quizzed a UWI linguist on how Jamaican lingo came to take over the world.
Wagwan, Jamaica.
Wagwan is one of the most popular Jamaican expressions used by singers, used by international media personality, or even presidents of the United States of America. I think most people would have caught Barack Obama using Wagwan in his greeting at that town hall at UWI when he visited Jamaica.
Jamaicans have been seeking work in the Americas and the United Kingdom in significant numbers since the 1800s. Many have settled in these lands, and singers and musicians from the country have been having tremendous impact on world entertainment, especially since after World War II.
You, being in Canada, would have recognized a lot of people, both Jamaican and non-Jamaican, using Wagwan. Now, Wagwan is from how that expression is built up. You have the interrogative word or the question word, what. So that first word, wa, is from what, English what. And Gwaan is from, that's a combination, a fused version of English go on. And it's a regular way in which Jamaicans say going on. So you would say something like disagwan, or that is going on. The in the middle is what we call the progressive mark or the continuous marker. This is how the language marks that an activity is going on.
Dr. Joseph Farquharson is coordinator of the Jamaican Language Unit at the UWI Mona.
You'll notice a lot of singers worldwide have picked it up, especially if they are from Africa. And this is because Jamaican Creole is so similar to the Creoles that are spoken in these areas like Nigeria, Ghana, etc. And so it's not very far from expressions that they themselves would have used. Somebody believes too, there's a scholar, an Austrian scholar working in Germany called Christian Meyer, who has proposed that Jamaican Creole has become dominant, not really by chance. Yes, Jamaicans, are lovable people. We are people who put ourselves out there and put ourselves into everything. But it's not only that. It's not because of how attractive our culture is, but because Jamaican Creole is an English-based Creole. And because English is currently the global language, the world language, that has helped the Jamaican language to have a further reach than it normally would have. Let's say, for example, if it had been a French-based Creole or a Portuguese-based Creole. And so I think that's one of the reasons why Jamaican expressions, such as Wagwan or even Jamaican swear words, have become popular, because Jamaican is an English-based Creole.
Jamaican, despite its influence on world culture, isn't officially regarded at home, but universities like Harvard in the USA and Canada's York in Toronto have courses in the language. Dr. Farquharson will go into more on that in the second segment when we hear about the psychological and economic value of language. Dr. Joseph Farquharson, coordinator of the Jamaican Language Unit at the UWI Mona. In the first part of our Bang News Magazine chat, he spoke about the origin of the phrase Gwaan and its popularity around the world, especially among people eager to learn to speak and sing in Jamaican. He now tells us about the sociological, psychological, and economic power of language.
There's anecdotal evidence that, at least for the UK, where Jamaicans were seen as more vocal, in sometimes more feared, which was important in racist societies, that many West Indians identified as Jamaicans. So even if in the West Indies there were these animosities between them, when they were in a larger society that was predominantly white, it was to their benefit to identify as, the bad dog on the block, because once you said Jamaican, people backed off. And if you
Oh, okay.
sounded Jamaican, people might not want to mess with you. Otherwise, it might not turn out so bad. So people adopted a kind of larger Jamaican identity in order to survive in racist societies. But Jamaicans didn't only live and grow up among West Indians, Black and West Indians of East Indian descent, but also among poor whites. And those poor whites were attracted to the general music and culture of Jamaicans. And so in Canada, for example, you have white Canadians who grew up among Jamaicans who, if they want, you can't really tell, if you hear them over the phone, you really can't tell that they are not Black Jamaican. And so we had that wider spread of people who were white or of other races or ethnicities adopting Jamaican speech patterns and other cultural patterns, sometimes driven by the music. And in fact, this is how a lot of Jamaicans in places like the UK, Canada, US came to know Jamaican language through the music. For Jamaicans growing up abroad, um, many of them, their parents, if they could, tried not to speak Jamaican Creole around them. And so the recourse they had was to Jamaican music.
So tell me something. What does all of this say for Jamaica? I mean, for example, you were in Canada studying Jamaican. I understand York University teaches Jamaican, the language, like we would teach French in Jamaica. Uh,
Yes.
what, this is a multiple dimensional question because like we don't want to stay too long, right? What,
Yeah.
of what importance is all of this to Jamaica's development? Jamaica has so far not embraced the language in the way that it has been embraced abroad.
Mhm.
Uh, and I'm sure language must be an important part of national development. So what does it say of for Jamaica, this international interest in Jamaica's language?
Okay, I think it says a lot. It doesn't say as much, but there's a sentiment in Jamaica among certain people that Jamaicans really don't appreciate their own things until it gets a stamp of approval from outside. And this was the case with reggae music. It was the case with Rastafari. It was the case with so many of our own cultural artifacts, our own ways of being. So that is one, that it's almost as if we are waiting for outsiders to approve of the thing. And this is what we got with, say, Harvard University offering a course in Jamaican Creole, York University in Toronto offering several courses in it. And what that does is says to Jamaicans, at least those Jamaicans who need convincing that the language is something worthwhile. Oh, look, these people from outside are interested in what we have, in what we do. So probably there is some value to it. It's
What
unfortunate. Yes. It's
what
unfortunate that
what
that should be the case.
what value does embracing one's language bring to Jamaica?
Well, first and foremost, if we deal with it on the psychological level, this sense of self and that you are valuable, you are enough, and the things that you develop, you own, you possess are valuable. That is one. And I think a lot of people underplay the psychological importance of this and how much our psyche drives how we see ourselves and what we think about what we can and cannot do. So that's important first and foremost. I have been proposing for a long time, and I'm not the first proponent, that we develop the language. And when I say develop, I mean it now needs all of the trappings of standardized languages so that we can market it elsewhere. So there are lots of people in Europe, and I can cite countries: Germany, the Netherlands, France, Italy, lots of people in China, in Japan, in countries in Africa, such as Zimbabwe, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, who want to learn the language. Many of them are learning the language through internet forums. And what they'll do, they'll actually set up forums for teaching and learning the language. And if they can get Jamaicans in. So, for example, there is a Facebook group which was created by Ugandans for teaching and learning the language, set up, at least when I checked, by 4 Ugandans, or let me put it
Oh
this way.
wow.
It had 4 Ugandans as administrators and moderators. And that was for teaching and learning. They're setting up WhatsApp groups for learning it. And I keep on pointing out to people that English became a world language, not by chance. Some people believe, oh, English was naturally born to rule and to be a world language. No, it became a world language because English people thought that what they spoke was enough, even though at some point in the past, it was the language of peasants and people who were poor. At some point in their history, English people decided that since they were good enough, their language was good enough for the rest of the world. And it happened in 2 steps. One, British expansionism. So as Britain expanded its empire, its language became the language of its colonies. And then the second step, in the 20th century, the British Council deliberately went about to spread English culture, and a part of that, of course, English language. And this is why today, in the English language itself is a multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide.
This is the potential for Jamaica.
This is the potential for Jamaican. So as we have people who want to learn the language, we need to monetize. And right now, the Jamaican Language Unit is taking the steps to set up courses for teaching the Jamaican language at all levels. So, if you want an introductory level, if you want an intermediate level, we're developing courses for that. If you want a level or a course that is devoted to music, which is many people's interest in the language, we are working on that also, because this is a way in which we can really monetize. And you would know better than most that in so many respects, Jamaica has missed out on the monetary gains from its own cultural artifacts. Because while everybody else is earning from it, we are still grappling about whether it's good enough. And in the capitalist economy that we exist in, people don't really ask themselves this question. The first question you ask, can we make money from this? Second question, how do we go about making money from it if people want
Well,
it?
Want it, can't get it, and get it, no want it, is another time-worn and proven Jamaicanism. We were glad to have Dr. Farquharson to kick off the new Abeng News magazine with a topic we hope you will want. Thanks, Joseph, and thank you for watching. Join us next time. I'm Mark Lee.